welcome back to my channel. It's me, Lene. So today I'm going to be listening to the Sabaton history of the first soldier. I just got done listening to it and watching the animated storyline of it, which was basically a Sabaton history, I guess, in itself, because it went over a lot about what happened to this man. So I still want to watch this, though. I want to see if there's some things that they left out. Real quick, I wanted to let you know there's a page called REDSHELLMAN. It's all one word. If you could, please go and like and subscribe and follow this channel. They only have a couple videos out right now, and they're not even very long, but it's someone very close to me, close to my family, and they kind of do more obscure internet history, video game stuff. I know the people that watch my channels obviously are into the music aspect of things, but anything that y'all could do as far as that, I would greatly appreciate. Thank you so much if you could. Also, 86% of the people that watch my videos are not subscribed. I also have the option for a membership. It's only $1.99 a month. You get priority reply to comments, loyalty badges, stuff like that. I also have the option for a super thanks if you feel motivated to do so. It's a way to donate to me. Anything from like $1 up, as much as you want. Anything helps me. A lot of my videos do not get monetized, so it would be appreciated. All right, y'all, let's check it out and learn more about Albert Roche, the first soldier, Sabaton.
I'm Indy Nidell.
I'm Per from Sabaton.
And this is the Sabaton History Channel.
Live from the Sabaton cruise. And this is the first soldier.
The first
Live from the Sabaton cruise? There's a freaking cruise? That's cool.
soldier. The Great War saw loads of remarkable people rise to prominence. Heroes, villains, even total legends. Some remained famous and became part of history. Others, however, were lost, succumbed to the fog of war, or simply slipped.
I think the audio is a little bit different on this because they're doing it live. I can hear a little bit of like an echo. So I'm sorry, y'all. That's on their end because I think they're doing it live.
Into the oblivion of time. And one of those mostly forgotten legends is Albert Roche. Once hailed as the first soldier of France, it is now left to songs like this to rekindle his memory. Albert Séverin Roche, Albert Séverin Roche, was born in 1895, the third of 3 children. His parents were simple farmers in the small French community of Roville. Young Albert was not keen on being a farmhand all of his life, but longed for danger and adventure like many other young men. Buying into the romanticized dream of the soldier's glorious life, he tried to enlist in
Pepper. And see, this is why my chair looks the way that it does. This is basically our cat's play toy.
1913. However, the French Army's assessment board rejected him right away. Too puny, too weak, not physically strong enough to become a poilu. Roche returned to his family's farm. Yet history was to give Albert a second chance soon enough. When the Great War called the sons of France to arms in August 1914, Roche was again about to set out for the front lines. His father said no, so he just packed his bags and snuck out in the middle of the night. This time, the officers of the board...
Yeah, it talked a lot about this stuff in the video, the animated video. So a lot of it, I feel like I'm gonna know.
Did not look too closely at the requirements, since the army needed volunteers to close ranks against the German advance as quickly as possible. Albert was assigned to the 30th Battalion of Chasseurs. These were traditionally light infantry, pretty similar to the German Jägers. They excelled in fighting as skirmishers in woods and hills. But though Roche entered the Chasseurs in high spirits, his military training did not go very well. He was troublesome, he was hot-tempered, he got into...
I think it's a good thing that he was all hot-tempered the way that he was, because it kind of helped him get out of the capture that he was captured in. Whenever I was listening to the animated story and it said that he was captured, and it, from what I saw, it looks like he was able to like capture them. So it's a good thing that he was as spunky as he was.
Fights, and he freely argued with his superiors. Not something the French military was keen on tolerating. One day, after another outburst of insubordination, Roche just walked out of the barracks and went AWOL. His flight did not last long, as he was soon apprehended by the military police. He was arrested for desertion That's pretty serious, right? Well, Roche countered that he felt his duty lay at the front and not being stuck in a boring training camp, marching up and down the parade ground. And surprisingly, military command actually agreed, and they punished him by granting his wish. Roche was to leave for the front immediately, being transferred to the 27th Battalion of the Chasseurs Alpins. Now, the Chasseurs Alpins were basically an elite version of the regular chasseurs. Known as the Blue Devils, this unit was especially skilled in mountain warfare, skiing, and climbing. If Roche wanted a fight, then the Blue Devils would find him one. Cut to second half of 1915, Roche taking up positions at the Ain River, where the chasseurs were engaged in daily skirmishes. Now, the Ain front was always a thorn in the side of French.
I still think it's crazy that the way they punished him was by putting him in the front lines, which is where he wanted to go anyway. But yet, in the end, whenever it was talking about how he was asleep, they wanted to punish him by killing him. So it's like, I feel like desertion is a little bit worse of a charge than sleeping, but I don't know.
High command, as the Germans held the heights on the Chemin des Dames. In 1915, the area was still fairly concealed by woods, but the trenches had become more and more sophisticated. And come December, the Germans had built an entrenched blockhouse in a forward position from where their machine guns could pepper the French lines. Roche volunteered to recon the position for weaknesses. On a particularly cold night, he snuck out under cover of the night. After slowly making his way through no man's land, he managed to infiltrate the German lines undiscovered. Peeking into the blockhouse, he saw that most of the Germans were sitting close to the warm stove. So he threw some grenades down the chimney.
That's so crazy.
The ensuing explosion rocked the blockhouse and killed several of the enemy. The confused and shell-shocked survivors burst out into the open. Thinking they had been hit by a full raid, they threw away their rifles and surrendered.
Not realizing it was just one man, one little short guy. Oh, wow.
So Roche ordered them to pack up their machine guns, and he took them all as prisoners back to the French lines.
Oh my gosh.
Now, for most of the war, the Chasseurs Alpins were rotated between the Ain and the front in Alsace. The fighting in the mountains of the Vosges suited them well. It was a perfect place for small unit tactics. The French also had a real cause there, the liberation of Alsace and Lorraine, which made sure that morale remained high. But the Germans were not going to give it up willingly. One day, Roche's unit was hit by a massive artillery strike. In the mountains, they could not dig deep trenches, so the artillery shells just devastated their ranks. In fact, everyone but Roche was killed by the bombardment. So
wow.
Albert took the rifles of his fallen comrades and prepared to sell his life dearly. As the Germans arrived...
So maybe that's what that scene was in the animated story of him in the trenches all by himself fighting. Because I was wondering, was that him over in the enemy territory after he had blown up that block, that concrete block thing? If he was still over there fighting. So maybe it wasn't.
He just gave them hell, firing every single rifle in the row and throwing hand grenades down the slopes. He forced the Germans to abort the attack and retreat.
Okay.
By this time, Albert Roche was known to volunteer for the most dangerous missions. Recon was vital for obtaining information, and combat patrols and trench raids were a common way to get prisoners and intelligence. But those missions were dangerous as hell, and many patrols just did not return. Roche's luck, like such patrols, ran out one day. His combat patrol was hit hard in no man's land, with only he and a wounded lieutenant as survivors. Both were captured by the Germans, and they were dragged into a bunker. And inside, Roche was put into a chair, and he awaited interrogation. Now, the specific details here are unknown, but I like to imagine that Roche began sweet-talking his captors to remove his bindings, and then karate-chopping his interrogators and grappling with the officer and taking the gun. And I say that...
I love listening to him. He's such a great storyteller. I don't know if it's maybe just his accent or his enthusiasm and passion behind it, but I could just listen to this guy talk. There's something like mesmerizing about, I guess, his accent or the way that he's explaining the story.
Because something like that must have happened. Because what we do know is that with a pistol in his hand and leading the German officer out of the bunker, he ordered the whole section to surrender. And
That's
then
so
he returned
crazy.
to the French lines, not alone, but with the wounded lieutenant and 42 German prisoners. Right?
Wow.
Hell yeah! By 1917, Roche was back at the Chemin des Dames, just in time for the Nivelle Offensive. The operation itself was a catastrophe, as anyone who has watched my old Great War series knows. In the hopes of finally pushing the
I hadn't seen that, his Great War series. I feel like I've heard him talk about that a few times, though.
Germans out of their positions on the heights, the French had ordered a massive assault over open ground. Once more, Albert Roche found himself in deep trouble. After a failed charge through no man's land, in the face of strong defensive fire, he saw his captain vanish in a fountain of mud. A shell had badly wounded the man, but he was still alive. Albert rushed out to save him. Okay, he did not rush out to save him, because rushing is not something you could do in no man's land. Any sudden movements would alert German snipers and observers. Simply running forward was, well, it was inviting death. Instead, Roche lay on his stomach and started crawling, slowly. Keeping his silhouette as low as possible, he slithered over the battlefield, inch by inch by inch, through mud, blood,
That's so crazy because it takes forever to do that little inch crawl, and the whole time he could get shot. At any point, all it takes is for one sniper to see a movement and just out of curiosity be like, that might be something. Boom. You know, like, that's, God, what kind of balls this man has.
Battlefield, inch by inch by inch, through mud, blood, guts, into shell holes, out of shell holes. Several times he just waited and he just watched. Was that a glare from binoculars or a sniper's scope? Was there a German helmet looking over the parapet? For 6 hours, he crawled forward.
Oh my God.
Until he finally reached the captain. The man was conscious, but unable to move on his own.
Oh, wow, he was laying there for 6 hours, the captain, just not knowing if he's gonna make it or not. Oh my gosh, could you imagine that terror of you can't move and you could go at any point? Oh, wow.
It was smarter to wait until nightfall before making a move here, but the captain might have bled out by then. So once more, Roche crawled back, this time dragging his wounded officer with him. It was muscle-straining work, trying to pull someone over the muddy, bombed-out ground. Miraculously, they both made it back to the lines after another 4 hours. Roche dropped the captain off at the stretcher bearers and then himself collapsed. Utterly exhausted, he fell sound asleep. He awoke sometime later from a kick and found a French patrol standing over him, their rifles raised. Alone and away from the front lines, they accused him of deserting his post. Roche, who was never one for lengthy...
And he just got done saving that captain. Oh my God, that's such bullshit. That makes me so angry.
...discussions anyhow, was now also sleep-deprived and under severe stress. So the whole situation escalated quickly, and he was put into the detention barracks. Desertion was punishable by death. Albert, of course, protested his innocence, but he had no witnesses to testify for him. The only witness was the now unconscious captain somewhere in the field hospital. The French army had a system whereby trench commanders could shoot men that refused to go over the top or were found guilty of sleeping on guard duty. Officially, they would sentence around 2,500 of their own soldiers to death by summary execution during the war.
That's so stupid to me. Aren't you already short people? You're gonna freaking just kill people because they were sleeping? That's so dumb.
of which at least 1,009 were shot. And even today, these men are still counted as deserters and criminals and not victims of the war. Roche was to be shot within 24 hours, so he wrote a short goodbye letter to his father and then was led to the execution by 12 men. And as they lined up the firing squad, a messenger suddenly burst on the scene. The captain had regained consciousness and testified to Roche's innocence. The execution was called off literally at the last moment.
Good. Did the executioners or the person who ordered the execution face anything? Were they like told, hey, quit your shit, dude? That's all that makes me so fucking mad.
Innocence. The execution was called off literally at the last moment. And seriously, how is there not a movie about this guy? Right?
Yeah.
Wait, do you guys want an Albert Roche movie? Well, Roche would continue to serve the nation that had just tried to kill him, fighting the Germans for Alsace and the Aisne until the armistice. He would receive several of the highest awards the French army could bestow: the Médaille Militaire, the Croix de Combattant Volontaire, and of course the Croix de Guerre. He was mentioned several times in the official dispatches, and his exploits on the battlefield, well, they became well known to high command and beyond. All in all, it is recorded that Albert Roche captured 1,180 German prisoners, most of them single-handedly, and was wounded 9 times in combat.
Oh my gosh.
That, General Louis de Mauduit would declare him Officier de la Légion d'honneur. His inauguration reads as follows: A chasseur whose bravery is legendary in the battalion. Even in the most difficult circumstances, he showed an absolute disregard for danger, maintained absolute calm at the most critical moments, is an example to his comrades, exalts their courage, and is a precious auxiliary to his leaders. He did not hesitate in the face of danger, triumphed over all difficulties, showed decisiveness and a conscientiousness above all praise. Roche was chosen personally by General Henri Gouraud to represent the French army in London at the funeral of British Chief of Staff John French. He was one of 5 soldiers invited to dinner afterwards with King George V, but probably the highest honor bestowed on him.
Quit biting me, cat. That hurts. Shmo, quit biting me.
Was in 1920 when Roche and 7 of his comrades were chosen to carry the coffin of the unknown soldier to his final resting place at the Arc de Triomphe in Paris.
Oh.
After the war, Albert Roche returned to his small farming commune. He married, he had a kid, and he spent the next few years on the farm of his parents-in-law. However, civilian life was not especially kind to him, and the Depression forced him to look for work in the city. The first soldier of France started repairing roads to put food on the table. And when war with Germany loomed on the horizon, Roche found a job.
Kind of reminds me of that Lady of the Dark video, how people after war that are these hugely decorated war people are just thrown back into society and they get these mediocre ass jobs. They're not offered anything better, and after everything that they did, they just go back to, I don't know, just working these meaningless jobs, sort of. It's kind of sad.
On the table. And when war with Germany loomed on the
in the animated video, it said that he became like a firefighter.
Horizon, Roche found a job at the National Gunpowder Factory.
Oh.
On April 14th, 1939, he got off the bus from work and was suddenly hit by a speeding car and thrown against a tree. Albert's mangled body was rushed to the hospital, but it was too late. Historian Pierre Miquel says it best. This man had gone through 4 years of war. He had been wounded 9 times. He had been close to death 1,000 times, almost unjustly shot as a mutineer. He had escaped all dangers, all accidents, all of this to be killed 20 years later on his way home on the descent of the bus.
That's such bullshit. That's such a stupid way to go. This poor man. I'm sorry. I've gotten heated a lot listening to this story, and it's just, it's frustrating.
Years later, on his way home on the descent of the bus. A rather ironic fate for the first soldier of France. Okay, Para, now this is a new song.
Yes.
Before I talk about the song, you mentioned at the beginning that we are filming this live on the Sabaton cruise, and I'm sure everybody could hear during the history part people talking. Can you tell them about what the cruise actually is?
Okay, so Sabaton Cruise has been going on for more than 10 years.
Oh, wow.
It started as
When did this come out? Let me see when this came out. A year ago. Okay. Okay.
It was simply too expensive to travel with all our production from Sweden to Finland. So instead of paying to pass with all our equipment, we rented the whole ship.
That's cheaper?
Yeah, it was cheaper than paying. And it turned out pretty cool. And we have been making it a tradition ever since. With the exception of the 2 years when there was the pandemic, we've been running it every year. And normally it's in December. And it's like a little bit slightly different type of Sabaton show. A lot of people are used to see Sabaton with a lot of production and with a lot of fireworks and stuff. But here it's very naked, you know? This is the core.
It's a lot more intimate. It's a lot more closer. And honestly, those are some of the best shows.
2,000 people or something,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, and here's very close, like, this is just a band and the fans. No production to hide behind, and it's a little bit of a reminder to where we come from.
Well, now it's for those of you that don't know about the Sabaton cruise. It's not just them playing; it's a couple of days, so they play both days. You play two.
Yeah,
shows.
we're playing 2 sets, and
but you also
it's
have
a little bit secret what kind of songs we're gonna play, and but it's something different.
And you also have, is it 5 or 6 other bands?
6 other bands, plus a strange guy who is here.
Are they talking about?
The funny thing is,
are they talking about him?
How you got here?
Okay.
So for anybody who don't know this, but before we started to film the Sabaton History Channel, we had agreed already. It was my birthday. We met in fall, and we agreed that we're gonna do it, but. Then you met the band for the first time here on the Sabaton Cruise in 2018.
2018, December 2018. Yep.
And that's when we filmed all the trailers for the History Channel before we launched it. Yeah. And we had some ideas and spawning like, and we were thinking about maybe we'll run it for a year or 2, and here we are. It's a long time ago.
That's 4 years later, actually.
Yes, and a hell of a lot of episodes.
Dad. We've been doing great. All right. Now, for those of you...
What's that guy, Bowie?
At home who don't know, those of you watching from home who don't know, the thing that he said is a little odd is tomorrow in the piano bar on the ship, on the piano, I will be performing the entire Great War album, and I will be playing and singing the Great War album. Now, some of the songs work great on the piano. Some of the songs work less great on the piano. Doesn't matter. I'll be playing them. But that was only because it was on one of these.
Has my cat been cleaning herself this whole time behind y'all? That's why I like cats. They clean themselves.
Sabaton history things when I said, and I'll play the Great War album on piano, and you held me to it.
Yes, that's true. I mean, if you said it, you have to step up to it. And we've been talking about this for quite some time. And then it was like, this is the time to do it.
Since I have World War II and Sabaton history to deal with, I had to get ahead in the work. So I didn't start learning the album until December 1st, exactly. 8 in the morning on December 1st. I sat down and started with the future of warfare. I started learning it and stuff. And you guys will see what it all sounds like tomorrow at 6 o'clock, right? I'll be giving out hot dogs. No, I won't.
Don't make more promises now, because we're going to hold you to it.
I love how they are with each other. They're just so comfortable. And like I said, there's something really cool about the guy that's doing all this.
Okay. Oh, here's the problem. Well, then again, this means that next year, Joachim has to perform his 90s R&B album because...
What?
Because he has... You've said it. Okay, am I fired again? I'm fired again. I've been fired twice today already. So.
Well, let's see if he can do it.
So what year was the first Sabaton cruise?
I assume that the first year of Sabaton cruise was 2010.
And were there
wow.
a bunch of other bands then, or was it really more just you guys?
There was a few more bands
Yeah.
because it was part of the touring
I wonder if they've ever had Nightwish on there with them, considering the husband, you know, he's married to Floor, or not the husband, the drummer.
package of what the tour was called World War Tour.
World War Tour.
It was Coat of Arms Tour. And
Okay.
we were passing from Sweden to Finland, and that's when we did it. So the bands that were on the tour with us, they were also playing on the cruise, and I think we got something more in there. So every year we have had the different types of bands and different amounts of bands. Of course, we have Battle Beast, who we've been touring with. One of the bands that we always sought to have on the Sabaton Open Air, but didn't work out for various reasons last year, and that was Windrose. And then we also had Dynasty, who were playing some shows with us this summer, so they're also here.
Dynasty. I feel like I've heard of them.
And of course, our old bandmates in Civil War.
Okay, well, this is all very interesting, but we haven't actually talked about the song, the first
True,
one.
but there will be another follow-up. I mean, as some people know, we do often 2 episodes of everyone. So
Even 3 sometimes.
Now even 3 sometimes. And why do we do that? Because there is simply too much to say in too little time. And we are running out of time
I only saw one for this. I don't know if there's another
for
one.
this episode, so we will be following up The First Soldier in another and talk about the song itself.
Okay, well, that is it for today from me, Indy Nidell,
And me, Per Sundström,
and here on Sabaton History Live.
from the Sabaton Cruise.
Can I get a hell yeah?
Oh, that was so cool, man. I hate the story, though. I hate how he ended and just the injustices that kind of happened to him so much. He was already told in the beginning he wasn't allowed to join, and then he had to leave his father and kind of disappoint him to be able to join. Then he does join, and he was a hero in that aspect, which is wonderful, of course. And then he almost gets shot by his own people for being asleep after he fell out from exhaustion from saving the captain. Like, that's so bizarre to me. And then to know that he got taken out by a freaking car. That... Ugh. I guess everyone's got to go some way or another, and no one's immune to a car accident, so... Alright, y'all, thank y'all so much for sticking around with me. Like I said in the beginning, please go check out that REDSHELLMAN page. I would greatly appreciate it. So would my family. It would be just wonderful to see that channel grow. And like I said too, 86% of the people that watch my video are not subscribed. I also have the option for a membership. It's only $1.99 a month to get priority reply to comments, loyalty badges, stuff like that. And then I also have the option for super thanks. It's a form of a donation. If you want to give me anything, it's down. You'll see it's by like the like and share buttons. And if you're a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back and listening to me. And with that,